Have you ever imagined a cave so large it has its own weather system?
With like clouds forming inside?
Yeah, and a jungle growing under these massive skylights.
Wow.
That's Hang Son Doong in Vietnam.
It's in Vietnam.
And today we're diving deep into its story. We've
Incredible.
got a fascinating scientific paper from the Boletim Geológico y Minero to guide us.
How cool.
It details the exploration and the geology of this just colossal cave,
Yeah, it's amazing what we're still discovering on this planet.
isn't it?
Hang Son Doong is really a testament to that sense of the unknown, I think.
Absolutely. It's officially the largest cave in the world.
Wow.
And the story of its discovery is almost as incredible as the cave itself.
I bet.
So back in 1990,
Okay.
a local guide named Ho Khan was seeking shelter from a huge storm in the Vietnamese jungle.
Oh, wow.
And he stumbled upon this opening in a cliff face. But it wasn't just any opening.
What was it like?
Well, he felt this powerful wind rushing out, almost like the cave was exhaling,
Oh, wow.
and heard the roar of a massive underground river.
And he didn't go in.
No, for almost 20 years, no one ventured inside.
Wow. Can you imagine knowing about something like that and just not going in right away?
I know it wasn't until 2009 that a team of British cavers, with Ho Khan as their guide, finally took the plunge.
Took the plunge.
The paper describes their initial descent as incredibly intimidating.
Oh, really?
A steep, slippery slope led down to this passage, but the scale of it is what's really mind-blowing.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
This passage was 100 meters high and 80 meters wide.
Wow.
So, imagine a football field fitting comfortably inside.
Oh my gosh, that's unbelievable.
I know, and what was it like once they were inside?
So they had to navigate a fast-flowing deep river.
Okay.
This wasn't like a leisurely stream, it was a powerful current carving its way through the darkness.
I can imagine.
And after overcoming these challenges, they emerged into a massive chamber illuminated by a shaft of daylight 200 meters high and 1.5 kilometers away.
Wow.
It's like stepping into another dimension.
It's like a scene out of a movie. And this is just one chamber.
Oh, there's so much more.
What else is there?
The paper talks about these towering stalagmites over 75 meters tall.
Oh, wow.
That's taller than the Statue of Liberty.
That's huge.
And then there are the dolines.
The Dolines.
Yeah, imagine giant sinkholes in the cave ceiling where the rock has collapsed and it lets sunlight to pour in like spotlights.
Oh, wow.
And underneath these dolines are entire ecosystems,
What?
actual jungles thriving within the cave.
Jungles inside a cave. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's wild.
How does nature create such unique and contrasting environments like that?
Well, it all comes down to millions of years of geological processes.
Millions of years.
Hang Son Doong is part of the Bàng Massif, which is primarily composed of limestone
Okay.
that was originally deposited in the ancient Paleotethys Ocean.
So this limestone essentially formed from the seabed is what made the cave possible.
Precisely, but it's not just the type of rock.
What else?
Hang Son Doong's main passage actually follows a major fault line that runs north-south through the Bàng Massif.
Okay. And this fault line acted like a blueprint, you know? It guided the cave's formation.
So it's like the Earth's movements created a weak zone in the rock, and over millions of years, water exploited that weakness, carving out this immense passage.
You got it. And then there are those massive collapses we mentioned earlier, the dolines.
Right.
They were also likely caused by those same tectonic forces.
Okay.
So these collapses are what created those breathtaking skylights.
Right.
And allowed those unique jungle ecosystems to flourish.
It's fascinating how those collapses ultimately contribute to the cave's beauty and diversity.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how destructive forces can also create something extraordinary.
They can.
Now, there are two major geological formations within Hang Son Doong.
Okay, what are they?
The Phong Na Formation and the Bac Sun Formation.
So these formations have distinct characteristics that add to the cave's complexity.
Absolutely. The Phong Na Formation is made of incredibly strong, dark limestone, often with layers of chert.
Yeah, think of it like the chalk you used in school, but compressed over millions of years to form solid rock.
Wow.
And this strong limestone is why the cave's passages have been able to maintain their size for so long.
So it's like super strong foundation for this colossal cave system.
Exactly. And what about the Bac Sun Formation?
What about it?
Well, the Bac Sun Formation is younger and composed of lighter gray limestone.
Okay.
It's known for containing various fossils from the early Carboniferous period.
Interesting.
It adds another layer of intrigue to the cave story, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. But How do scientists know how old this cave actually is?
Well, they used a technique called cosmogenic nuclide dating to figure that out.
Cosmogenic nuclide dating.
Yeah, imagine cosmic rays like tiny paint splatters hitting the Earth.
Okay,
And scientists can count those splatters to figure out how long something's been exposed.
that's a great way to explain it.
So they applied this technique to sediment deposits in a collapsed side passage called the alcove. Turns out the sediment in the alcove dates back to the Pliocene epoch,
So how old is the cave?
meaning the cave is at least 2 to 5 million years old.
Wow. That means this cave was already millions of years old when the earliest humans were first learning to walk upright.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
It is. But if it's that old, how quickly has the river been carving its way through the cave?
Well, the paper gives an estimate for the rate of river incision,
Which is...
basically how fast the river cuts through the rock.
Okay.
And it's incredibly slow, only about 22 meters per million years.
It's incredible to think that the processes shaping this cave operate on such a massive timescale.
It's a humbling reminder that we're just a small blip in the grand scheme of things.
That's a great point, and we haven't even touched on the fossil discoveries in Hang Son Doong yet.
Oh, yeah.
This cave isn't just a geological marvel, it's also a time capsule to the distant past.
It really is.
What did they find?
Well, near the Watch Out for Dinosaurs Doline, they found these beautiful horn-shaped rugose corals, about 3 centimeters wide. These corals point to a thriving marine environment millions of years ago.
It's like peering into a lost world.
And it gets even more intriguing. They found numerous crinoid fossils.
Crinoid fossils.
Yeah, which are ancient marine animals related to starfish,
Oh, wow.
near a formation called the Hand of Dog.
It's incredible to imagine these ancient creatures inhabiting this space.
I know.
It makes you wonder what other secrets are still hidden within the cave's unexplored passages.
Absolutely. And to add another layer of mystery,
Okay.
they found a more recent calcitized skeleton of an herbivore near the cave's exit.
Wait, larger animals were roaming this cave too.
Apparently, how?
Do they know what kind of herbivore it was?
Unfortunately, they didn't find the skull, so the exact species is still a mystery.
Oh, bummer.
But it's a tantalizing hint that Hang Son Doong has many stories to tell,
I bet.
spanning vast stretches of time.
This deep dive is already blowing my mind, and I know we have to talk about how we can protect this incredible natural wonder for future generations.
You're right. Conservation is key when we're talking about something as unique and delicate as Hang Son Doong.
For sure.
And that's something we'll dive into when we continue our exploration.
Okay, sounds good. So when we left off, we were talking about how vital it is to protect a place like Hang Son Doong.
Yeah, it's not just a cave.
Right.
It's a whole ecosystem, a piece of history, and a force of nature all in one.
It really is. So what steps have been taken to make sure it stays pristine?
Well, the Vietnamese authorities have been incredibly proactive.
Okay, good.
They've implemented these strict regulations to limit tourism and control access to the cave.
I see.
For instance, only a select number of tour operators can bring visitors in.
Okay.
And even then, group sizes are kept small.
That's good to hear. It sounds like they're taking a less is more approach,
Exactly.
which makes sense when you're dealing with something this delicate.
Yeah, the tours are carefully managed.
Okay.
Guides lead visitors along these designated paths and ensure no one disturbs the cave's environment.
I see.
It's all about minimizing impact.
It's a relief to know they're prioritizing preservation over profits.
It is.
The paper mentioned that Hang Son Doong is still in remarkably pristine condition,
Yeah.
which is a testament to those efforts.
It really is, however, there's always going to be that push and pull,
I know what you mean.
between allowing people to experience this wonder
Right.
and ensuring its long-term survival.
Yeah.
It's a tough balance to strike.
It's that classic dilemma, isn't it? How do you share something incredible without loving it to death?
Precisely, there will always be pressure to open up access further.
Right. Especially given the economic potential of tourism.
Exactly, but the paper makes it clear that maintaining Hang Son Doong's pristine condition is paramount.
And rightfully so. It's not just about protecting a cave.
Yeah.
It's about safeguarding a unique ecosystem, a piece of history,
Right.
and respecting the power of nature. All those things are irreplaceable.
Well said, and it goes beyond just Hang Son Doong itself.
Okay.
The entire Bàng Massif is a treasure trove of biodiversity and geological wonders. Remember how we talked about the possibility of even larger caves hidden within the massif?
I do.
It's mind-boggling to think about what other colossal wonders might be waiting to be revealed.
It makes you realize how much there still is to discover on our planet.
There is.
It's both exciting and humbling. Speaking of which, let's shift gears back to what we do know about Hang Son Doong.
Okay.
This paper doesn't just describe its size and beauty. It
Yeah,
delves into the nitty-gritty of how it formed.
it does.
We've discussed salt lines and collapses.
Right.
But what about the role of water in carving out the cave?
You're right. The paper really dives into the hydrology,
Okay.
the way water has shaped this cave over millions of years.
Uh-huh.
They break Hang Son Doong into three sections.
Okay.
The southern part, which is still actively taking in water from the surrounding area.
I see.
The central part, which is considered fossil in the sense that it doesn't show signs of recent river flow. And the northern section, which is mostly fossil passage, but has signs of flooding from different sources than the main river that flows through the southern part.
Ah, so that's where that powerful river we discussed earlier comes into play,
Exactly.
the one the explorers had to navigate.
Even at its base flow, it's estimated to be carrying about 10 cubic meters of water per second.
Wow, and during the rainy season.
Oh, things get pretty wild.
Okay, give me a sense of how wild we're talking.
They estimated the peak flow based on erosion patterns to be a staggering 400 to 450 cubic meters per second.
What?
During these peak floods, the water gets dammed up behind the watch out for dinosaurs, collapse that huge doline we talked about.
Yeah.
Imagine a temporary lake forming inside the cave tens of meters deep.
That's almost impossible to picture.
I know, right?
It gives you a sense of just how dynamic this environment is, even though the changes happen over such long timescales.
Right, and then there's the central section,
Right.
which shows no signs of that raging river.
So what do we see there?
Instead, you see these amazing gore formations,
The gore formations.
those rimstone pools created by dripping water,
Mm-hmm.
but no evidence of the recent powerful river flow we see further south.
It's like walking through different chapters of the cave's history.
It is.
Then there's the northern section, which you said is mostly fossil passage too,
Right.
but with signs of flooding from other sources. So maybe water seeping in from above or underground springs.
Exactly. And the presence of cave-blind fish in this section indicates there's at least some persistent water flow,
Okay.
even if it's not as dramatic as the river further south.
Gotcha.
It paints a picture of an intricate, interconnected system shaped by water in all its forms over millions of years.
That makes me think about the fault lines we discussed earlier. Did those play a role in directing the water flow too?
Absolutely. Those NS and NWSE trending faults acted like guides for the water, creating weak zones that were easier to erode.
Okay.
And because those faults run for long distances, they explain why Hang Son Doong is so remarkably straight compared to other caves.
Well-
It essentially followed the path of least resistance laid out by the Earth's movements.
It's amazing to think about those large-scale geological forces, creating the blueprint for the cave and then the relentless work of water doing the rest.
I know, it's incredible.
It's a reminder that even the most monumental features of our planet are often the result of seemingly insignificant forces acting over incredibly long periods of time.
They are.
We've covered so much ground today, from accidental discovery to geological history, fossils, and conservation. What's the most important thing for our listeners to take away?
I think it's the interconnectedness of it all.
Like interconnectedness.
Yeah, the geology, the hydrology, the delicate ecosystems, even the human element of exploration and conservation.
Right.
It all weaves together to create this incredible story of Hang Son Doong.
Beautifully put. It's a story that's still being written with new discoveries potentially waiting around every corner. This deep dive into Hang Son Doong has been truly remarkable. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey.
The pleasure was all mine. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and never stop marveling at the wonders of our world.
It's amazing to think about how all these elements, from ancient oceans to powerful rivers, have shaped Hang Son Doong into the natural wonder it is today.
It is pretty incredible.
It makes you wonder what other secrets are still out there,
Oh, definitely.
just waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, and those discoveries might not just be about size.
Right. What else could they be about?
Well, they could be about like unique adaptations or new species or even clues to our planet's past.
Speaking of clues to the past, we talked about those fascinating fossil discoveries in Hang Son Doong.
Yeah.
What can those fossils tell us about the environment inside the cave millions of years ago?
Hmm.
Were these creatures already adapted to cave life, or were they remnants of a time when the cave was more open to the outside world?
That's a great question, and the paper does touch on it. Those rugose corals we mentioned, for instance, are a clear indication that this area was once submerged beneath the ocean.
So under the ocean.
Yeah, their presence tells us that the cave, or at least the rock it's informed long after the ocean receded.
So those corals are like a snapshot of a completely different time, a reminder that what we see today is just one frame in a very long film.
Exactly. And the other fossils, the crinoids and the herbivore skeleton,
Right.
paint a picture of a changing environment, the crinoids.
Those ancient relatives of
Yeah.
starfish.
Those guys also point to a marine past, but the herbivore skeleton suggests that at some point the cave was accessible to land animals.
Interesting.
Whether they wandered in by chance or were part of a more established ecosystem is still a mystery.
It makes you picture this cave as a dynamic space evolving over time with different inhabitants coming and going as the environment changed.
That's a great way to think about it, and it highlights how important those dolenes are.
Those collapsed sections of the ceiling.
Yeah. To the cave's ecosystem, they act as gateways, allowing sunlight and nutrients to enter, and perhaps even serving as passageways for animals.
It's like they're breathing life into the cave. And it makes me wonder if those collapses are so crucial, why haven't they happened more recently?
Mm.
Is the cave still geologically active?
Well, the paper doesn't give a definitive answer on that, but it does suggest that the most significant collapses likely occurred millions of years ago,
Okay.
when the cave was first forming. That's not to say new collapses couldn't happen,
Right.
but they're probably less likely now that the cave system is more stable.
That makes sense. It's a reminder that even though these geological processes seem slow and steady, they can still surprise us with sudden dramatic events.
Absolutely, and that unpredictability is part of what makes caves like Hang Son Doong so fascinating.
I agree.
There's always the potential for new discoveries, new insights into how our planet works.
It's been an incredible journey exploring this natural wonder, from its accidental discovery to its intricate geology, its unique ecosystem, and the importance of preserving it for future generations. What stands out to you most from our deep dive into Hang Son Doong?
For me, it's the reminder that our planet is constantly changing, even if those changes happen over timescales we can barely comprehend.
I agree.
Hang Son Doong is a testament to that power of deep time and a reminder that we're just temporary inhabitants of this incredible world.
I couldn't agree more. And for our listeners, perhaps the most important takeaway is that there's still so much out there to explore, to understand, and to protect. Hang Son Doong is just one example of the countless wonders hidden on our planet, each with its own story to tell.
Beautifully said. So keep your curiosity alive. Keep asking questions, and who knows, maybe someday you'll be the one making those incredible discoveries.
That's a great thought to end on. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into Hang Son Doong. It's been a truly unforgettable journey.
The pleasure was all mine. Until next time, keep exploring and keep wondering.